Good day! We are the Group 5 and our topic is all about Chapter 5, Typical and Atypical Development Among Children.
Good day, everyone. I'm here to discuss to you what is self-development and it's important. Before I start, let me introduce myself. My name is Rolly G. Gindoro Jr., AP student for O1P. So let's start. So self-development is a way or steps to be better, such as by learning new skills or overcoming bad habits. An example of self-development is taking courses and do different kinds of physical activity to learn and new skills in interesting things. Improving oneself in various aspects of life is a constant pursuit of growth by developing skills. Competencies and knowledge, the ultimate goal for self-development is to be a self-fulfilled person. So pag sinabi natin self-development, from the word development, ito yung pagbabago sa ating sarili hanggang sa maabot natin at ma-reach natin yung pinaka-best better version ng ating sarili. So bago mangyari yon, so kailangan natin mag-explore at kailangan natin matuto at lalo-lalo na kailangan natin dapat tanggapin at iwasan yung mga bad habit na ginagawa natin sa araw-araw. Kinakailangan natin gumawa ng mga bagay na kung saan makakakuha tayo ng aral, like example, gumawa tayo ng simple tasks, daily activities na kung saan may improve natin ang ating immune system, mental health at daily lifestyle na kung saan para magkaroon tayo ng magandang resulta sa ating sarili, sa environment at lalo-lalo na sa pakikitungo sa ibang tao. So noong mga panahon ng mga bata pa tayo is puro laro lang yung nasa isip natin. Ngayon na nagkakaedad tayo at matured is nagkakaroon tayo ng opportunity and responsibility na dapat natin gawin para matawag tayong self-fulfilled person. So ano nga ba ibig sabihin ng self-fulfilled person? Ito na yung sinasabi ko na na-reach mo na yung pinaka-best version ng sarili mo at well-trained ka na sa lahat ng bagay. So here's the examples of self-development. So listening actively, develop a growth mindset, develop a reading habit, learn new things, and improve your public speaking skills. So what is the importance of self-development? So ano nga ba importansya ng self-development at mga examples na ibigay ko ngayon? So ini-enhance lang naman ito yung self-improvement mo sa katawan, hindi lang sa inyong sarili kundi sa environment at sa mga taong nakapaligid sa iyo. Ang benefits nito is nagkakaroon ka ng magandang mindset at maganda yung tingin sa iyo ng ibang tao. So sinasabi ko nga na hindi nyo magagawa itong self-development na ito kung hindi nyo umumpisahan sa inyong sarili. And that's all. Thank you.
Child developmental theories focuses on explaining how children change and grow over the course of childhood. Such theories center on various aspects of development, including social, emotional, and cognitive growth. Learning is a part of human nature, and when we learn, of course, we grow and develop many different skills, knowledge, and other things that helps increase our capabilities and mold us as a person that makes us full. But how did we, when we were a child, learn how to walk, to crawl, to talk, and even adapt in our environment and socialize with other people? Does this question ever cross your mind? So now we have here 3 child developmental theories that will help us dig deeper and acquire information about this topic. The first theory is Freud's psychosexual developmental theory. According to Freud, conflicts that occurs during each of these stages can have a lifelong influence on personality and behavior. Freud proposed one of the best-known grand theories of child development. His theory suggested that the energy of the libido was focused on different erogenous zones at specific stages. Failure to progress through a stage can result in fixation at that point in development, which Freud believed that could have an influence on adult behavior. The theory of psychosexual development is also known as the theory of libidinal development. In other words, Freud's theory suggests that our personality in adulthood was greatly influenced by our early experiences during infancy and childhood. According to Freud, sex is the most important life instinct in development. In this theory, we have 5 stages, and each stage has its own erogenous zones and fixation. These are oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital stage. This theory aims that our body has different regions and that has erotic wishes, and that is called erogenous zones. Example of erogenous zones are lips and mouth, anal region, and sex organs. So this produces pleasurable feelings or experiences. And if needs are not met along that area, a fixation occurs. Fixation is the behavior that will develop in the adulthood. One example of this is the erogenous zone in oral stage. In oral stage, the lips or the mouth is the erogenous zone, and the pleasure was felt whenever they are sucking anything or any part of the body. If needs are not met, they may lead or develop behaviors such as smoking, drinking alcohol, gossiping, and other behaviors relative to its erogenous zones or their mouth. The second theory is Erikson's psychosocial developmental theory. Erikson's eight-stage theory of psychosocial development describes growth and change throughout life, focusing on social interactions and conflicts that arise during different stages of development. His eight-stage theory of human development describes this process from infancy through death. During each stage, people are faced with developmental conflict that impacts later functioning and further growth. Erikson's psychosocial term is derived from two words: psychological, or the root word psycho, relating to the mind, brain, or personality, and social, meaning external relationships and environment. This theory is about psychosocial crises that we experience along the eight stages of psychosocial development. In this theory, we have this word virtue or psychosocial strength, and we can develop either malignancy, coined as worst, and maladaptation, coined as not quite as bad. The eight stages of psychosocial development and their malignancy and maladaptation are: first, infancy. You may develop either trust or mistrust. The second one is early childhood, autonomy, and shame and doubt. Third one is preschool, initiative versus guilt. Fourth is school age, industry versus inferiority. Five is adolescence, identity versus role confusion. Sixth is young adulthood, intimacy or isolation. Middle childhood, the seventh one, generativity versus stagnation. And the eighth one, maturity, ego, integrity versus despair. The third theory is Piaget's cognitive developmental theory. His cognitive theory seeks to describe and explain the development of thought processes and mental states. It also looks at how these thought processes influence the way we understand and interact with the world. In this theory, we have schema. It is where individuals intellectually adopt and organize their environment. And then we have assimilation, or the process of fitting a new experiences into an existing schema. Next, we have accommodation. It is the process of creating a new schema. So, to give you an example, let's say a boy saw a barking, furry, four-legged animal, and his parent tell him that it is a dog. So, that is now a schema for the boy. And then the child saw again a dog, but a tiny dog. It has a different size. So he will now have a new information that a dog has different height or sizes. And that is what we call assimilation. And then now the child saw again a furry four-legged animal. And then he thought that it is also a dog. But then when his parent heard him, his parent corrected him that it is a cat. And that is now the time that he will acquire a new schema or information, which is known as accommodation. So now we have four stages in cognitive developmental theory, and these are sensory motor stage, pre-operational stage, concrete operational stage, and formal operational stage. The first one is sensory motor stage. It is a period of time between birth and age 2. during which an infant's knowledge of the world is limited to his or her sensory perceptions and motor activities. Behaviors are limited to simple motor responses caused by the sensory stimuli. In this stage, the child understands the world by depending on their sensory experiences, by seeing and hearing things. So, the main development during this stage is the understanding that the object exists, or also known as the object permanence. And if that is attained, it signals the transition to the next stage, which is the pre operational stage. The pre-operational stage is a period between ages 2 and 6, during which a child learns to use language. During this stage, children do not yet understand concrete logic, cannot mentally manipulate information, and are unable to take the point of view of other people. Intelligence at this stage is intuitive in nature. This means the child cannot use logic or transform, combine, or separate ideas. So, in this stage, we have six key features, and these are symbolic function, egocentrism, centration, irreversibility, animism, and transductive reasoning. The next one is the concrete operational stage. It is a period between ages 7 and 11, during which children gain a better understanding of mental operations. Children begin thinking of logical things about concrete events but have difficulty understanding abstract or hypothetical concepts. In this stage, the child can see more than their own point of view. It is characterized by the ability of the child to think logically but only in the terms of concrete objects. Children gain the abilities of conservation, which they encounter numbers, area, volume, and orientation, and also reversibility, seriation, and dysentery. And now the last stage, formal operational stage. It is a period between age 12 to adult when people develop the ability to think about abstract concepts. Skills such as logical thought, deductive reasoning, and systematic planning also emerge during this stage. People in this stage become more logical, even though they are not using sentences or they are only using sentences in defining a situation, they are still able to give reasoning or hypothesis.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Almarjan Egadur, and my report is all about typical and atypical development. Typical development will give generic progress of the child compared to peers of the same age, while the atypical development is when development doesn't follow the normal course. It could include things like learning and social disabilities and disorders. When we say typical development, let us say na yung progress mo as a person is normal lang or general development type lang siya. For example, sa case ng mga athletes, isipin natin, example, volleyball players kayong lahat. Pag sinabi nating typical development, kayong lahat, specifically ikaw as a student or athlete, is yung progress mo is normal lang. Marunong ka mag-spike, mag-set or receive, ganon, something like that. So, on the other hand, when we say atypical development is ibalik natin yung example kanina sa volleyball. So, nag-learn kayo on how to play volleyball. And then yung progress mo is different from others. Iba yung nagiging improvement mo sa mga teammates mo. Iba yung developmental course mo as a student or an athlete. So, sabihin natin 5 kayo na players. Tapos yung 4 mo na kasamahan is marunong sila mag-spike at jump serve. While you is nasa basic level pa lang. Sa level ka pa lang ng receiving. So, in other words, iba yung developmental course mo, yung development mo. Di normal yung development mo. Kitsabay naman kayo ng training lahat. Behind ka pa rin sa mga kasama mo in terms of improvement. So, yan yung atypical development. So, And when we say also atypical development, yung rason ba't iba yung developmental course mo is one factor is meron kang disorder. Let's just say na yung disorder mo is you can't hear clearly sa mga bagay-bagay kasi nga sira yung pandinig mo. So di mo clearly na naririnig yung mga instructions ng coach mo. So hindi ka fully mag-function. Or if meron kang hard time to digest the informations na binibigay sa'yo, di ka talaga mag-improve. Or mahihirapan ka talaga at mahuhuli yung improvement mo. So yun yung difference between sa typical and atypical development. So that's all.
Good day, everyone. I am Jobert M. Henke Jr., and I'm going to discuss to you the domains of development. The major domains of the development are physical, cognitive, language, and social emotional. Children often experience a significant and obvious change in one domain at a time. For example, if a child is focusing on learning to walk, which is the physical domain, you may not notice as much language development or new words until they have mastered walking. So, number 1 is physical domain. Dito na nag-develop ang body size, body proportions, appearance, brain development, motor development, perception, capacities, and of course the physical health. The second one is cognitive domain. Thought processes and intellectual abilities including attention, memory, dito na rin sila natututo ng problem solving, imaginations, nagiging creative na sila, and yung academic nila is gumagaling na sila sa mga knowledge, metacognitions, and language. So, the last one is the social emotional domain. So, dito na yung self-knowledge. Dito na sila marunong mag-self-esteem, metacognition, sexual identity, ethnic identity. So, nalalaman nila dito nalalaman nila yung sarili nila. Moral reasoning, understanding and expression of emotions. Dito, marunong sila mag-interpret ng mga emotions nila. Self-regulations, marunong sila magtama ng mga kamalian nila. Understanding others, kung marunong na sila mag-understand ng sarili nila, marunong na rin silang mag-understand ng ibang tao. And of course, interpersonal skills and friendships. That's all. Thank you.
Good day. I'm Casey Lau, and I'm going to discuss the stages in child development. So in this topic can help you to track whether your child is developing at the correct pace. And failure to reach these milestones may indicate developmental disorders or genetic conditions. Newborn. During the first 2 months of life, yung mga baby daw, yung sanggol, can already move their head from side to side, turn towards, and yung iba naman ay nakakaaninig na sa mga bagay dun sa mga paligid nila. So in this stage, minimal pala yung mga pwede nilang gawin o yung mga nagagawa nilang movements. Infant. Dito naman sa stage na to, unti-unti nang nade-develop yung mga movements na nagagawa nila. Like, they can recognize familiar faces and nakokontrol na din nila paunti-unti yung paggalaw nila sa head nila. Like, halimbawa, kapag tinatawag sila, nakaka-move na sila kaliwat kanan. So, 6 to 9 months naman, infants start sitting without support. And medyo mabilis na sila mag-react kapag may tumatawag sa pangalan nila. So, ngingiti sila, or minsan, di ba may mga baby na magbabounce-bounce sila kahit nakaupo man or nakatayo. Yung parang ang ganas doon nila, ganun. And between 9 and 12 months, dito na yung nakakapag-crawl na sila and nakakahawak or nakakabuhat na sila ng mga objects. So, yung objects na yun, syempre, magagaan pa lang. And dito, kaya na nilang, yung object na yun, kaya na nilang ibato sa atin or kahit saan. So, pwede na silang, so dito sa stage na to, yung mga 9 to 12 months, pwede na silang turuan tumayo-tayo, and pwede nang turuan umupo or mag-balance, makaupo. Toddler. In this stage, dito na yung malikot na sila, and yung iba, kayang-kaya na umakyat sa mga hagdanan, nakakatakbo at nagpapahabol na rin sila sa atin. So, yung iba naman nakakapag-basic draw na din, like more on lines and circles. They can also learn to say mama and papa, even short sentences. And they can also follow simple instructions. So, makikita natin or mapapansin natin sa mga toddler na o mga bata na kapag sinabihan mo na wag umupo sa ganito, wag magtapon sa dito, wag magtapon doon, di ba napapansin natin na marunong talaga silang sumunod and nakakasunod pa talaga sila. Preschool. Between 3 to 5 years of age, may mga sarili na silang mundo. Like, kaya na nilang maglaro mag-isa, and marunong na silang pumili dun sa mga gusto nilang damit na susuotin. So, di ba yung iba, pinapapili natin sila dun sa dalawang bagay. Like, anong gusto mong suotin dito? Bibi, ito ba or ito? So, napapansin natin, mas nagde-decide sila or pumipili sila sa colorful, di ba? So, in this stage na rin, nahihirapan ka na magsaway kasi sobrang active na nila and more on, laro na talaga sila, more on, more on motor skills, kumbaga ganon. And minsan, kapag kung saang lugar sila naglalaro or kung saan ka nakatira, kung paano yung way nyo mag-usap ng kaibigan mo or ng husband mo, minsan may mga words na naa-adapt nila yun. So, di ba, nagugulat tayo kapag bata pa lang, marunong na magmura, so ganon. Kasi, parang, dahil sa mga nakikita, naririnig nila sa kung nasan man silang environment, madali nilang ma-adapt yun. And parang madali lang sa kanilang i-adapt yun kasi wala pa silang masyadong alam kung ano ibig sabihin nun. So, gagayahin lang nila yun. School age, 6 to 17 years old. So, dito sa stage na to, dapat natututo na sila kung paano sila maging independent. So, dapat yung parents or yung guardians, hinahayaan na nila yung mga bata kung paano nila gawin yung isang bagay. So, kung magkamali man sila, accept lang natin. Kasi, dun sa pagkakamali yun, pwede silang matuto. And next time, alam na nila kung ano yung mga pwede nilang gawin. Kung ano yung tama na dapat nilang gawin. So, katulad ko, nung grade 2 ako, or grade 1, ayan, marunong na akong gumawa ng mga madadali kong assignments. So, kapag hindi ko talaga kaya, I ask help naman dun sa tito ko nag-aalaga sa amin before. So, ayun. Add ko rin na dito sa stage na to, mas gusto nating mag-explore. And gusto nating gawin yung mga bagay-bagay. So, hindi naman masamang mag-explore as long na alam natin yung mga ginagawa natin. And that's it. Thank you.
And that ends our presentation. I hope you've learned a lot. Thank you so much.